Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's Warrant Committee meeting for the town of Milton. Welcome. We have several guests tonight, and I'm happy to be able to bring us to order. So, Lynn, would you please take the roll?
Sure. We have Steve, Lorraine, Dave, George, Kathy, Erin, John, Kristen, JJ, Erin, and Emily.
Excellent. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate your time. Our second order of business is to review and approve minutes from meetings of the 5th of January and the 10th of January, which I'm assuming everybody has seen, received electronically, viewed, and been able to make any changes if necessary. Do we have any changes or amendments? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the meetings from January 5th and January 10th.
Uh-huh.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Lynn, please take the roll.
Steve,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Dave, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Mute.
I think that's affirmative, although I couldn't hear. Yes? Okay, thank you. Sorry, I lost my place. George,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Erin,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
and Susanna.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Lynn, I'm here too. Christine.
Oh, Christine,
Oh.
thank you.
I think we have, who are we missing then? I don't think we don't have Susanna, we don't have Scott.
Scott
Oh, no,
just
we do
came
have
in.
Susanna. Hey there, how are you?
Here. Good.
Sorry, this is
No
when
worries.
I have a limited screen, so I apologize if I don't acknowledge seeing you, but
No worries.
so we're just missing Scott, are we?
Scott, Oheni,
I'm here.
Muhammad.
Hey,
Oh, Scott-
everybody.
there
I'm
you
here.
are. Okay, very good. So we just need Oheni and Muhammad. But that's all right. We have plenty to start with. Okay, our next order of business are remarks from the chair. The chair apologizes to school committee member Ross Denny. The exchange that we experienced was not as I like to have them happen. I do not want you all to think that I have lost my mind or that I am a rude individual. I would hope you wouldn't think that, and I would hope she wouldn't. We had two very pleasant conversations. I think she understands how our meetings work, and I've apologized to her privately, and I apologize publicly to her and to the committee for conduct which clearly offended her, and that was not the intention at all. So to all of you also, I extend my apologies. The chair is usually better behaved than that. So the next item I want to move to is a discussion, not a discussion, a presentation. Lynn, can you put this up, please? These procedures, I just want to be sure everybody's clear about. I will not call them, these are what I'm going to call operational and communication guidelines for us as a group. I think we know these, but I want them to be very clear. You want to, next? I ordinarily, when I do presentations, don't like to read, but I'm going to, just so these get into the minutes. It is very important that we all recognize that our proceedings are a matter of public record and are broadcast to the public and recorded. Next. Secondly, warrant committee meetings are intended to be a safe place. We all have our opinions, but I think generally bring open minds and respectful attitudes and should behave towards one another and our guests with a measure of kindness and respect. I think that is uniformly what happens here, and 99% of the time I think we observe that. Next. We will obviously all be discussing challenging subjects. We're not all going to agree, but they are challenging. We have to acknowledge that. Next. None of us are experts, okay? We learn from one another and from the individuals coming in before us, and sometimes we can, in fact, teach them. Next. Our goal is obviously to have as comprehensive a discussion of the issues that we have to address. We can't cover everything. More detailed discussions concerning things like the budget, particularly, should properly occur in the subcommittees as they have in the past. And this is where our focus should be, and we can actually give proper attention to line items. Next. Please direct all comments and requests to the chair. There will be no confusion. The chair has always offered opportunities for people to speak. I'll recognize the speakers as in order. It's a little bit challenging when I see hands raised and they're against the light background. I can't always make it, so please indulge me. And our objective is to execute the agenda. My objective is to execute the agenda efficiently and respectfully. Next. Our objective also is to fill in the gaps of our knowledge. As I say, none of us is experts, and we need to do this so that we can properly consider the topics that we discuss and recommendations that we are obligated to bring to the town meeting, and to provide as careful deliberation as we can in order to get to our objective. Next one, please, Lynn. Now, everybody brings their own experiences and their own points of view, and I'll say their own biases, their own philosophies as we come together to discuss these things. But we like to think that we can and we should discuss these in an open and an inclusive manner, being aware that not everybody has the same backgrounds, and there are certain sensitivities that we must observe together. Next one, please. And then I think finally, we all have the same objective here. We all have the same love and passion for this town. And I think we all have the objective that our success is collective and a success for the town. So as I believe we do in the overwhelming majority of our deliberations, we must continue and keep this in mind, that as we convey our ideas and our opinions, we still need to demonstrate civility to our neighbors, even when opinions differ. So that having been said, I think we can proceed to our next agenda item, and I thank you all for indulging me on that. So the next item on the agenda, as is my custom, does anybody have anything to add or any comment to this? Any question of any sort? Let's see, I have two hands up. I think Christine, I saw you first. Please go ahead.
I'm wondering, and that's very helpful, thank you. I'm wondering if it makes sense to consider putting a step in our process whereby the people that are on the subcommittees have the opportunity to kind of give a 5-minute readout to the rest of the committee afterward. I don't know if this is the right time to talk about that, but just looking at all the communication procedures, I feel like we go away, we go line by line. And I know I, for one, would appreciate understanding what my colleagues have discovered.
Yes, I think that's fantastic. I think we do that as we go through the budget, when we go through the article, but I think that's a very good idea. I would suggest that we could do that after the subcommittee meets. We can take up the particular, or after you've concluded your meetings with the different departments, and then we can take that into consideration. I think that's a terrific idea. Informally we do it, but we can certainly institutionalize it. Thank you. Emily, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to add that this was super helpful. And I still remember back when I started on the Warrant Committee last year, it took me a little while to get my bearings. I think I was like observing to figure out what are the procedures and kind of follow the example. So seeing these, it is really helpful. And I wonder if, I think we have some meetings where it's mainly members of the Warrant Committee, and then there are other meetings where we do have, like today, a lot of people joining us. So yeah. I think that perhaps not all of those items are needed for every meeting, but I wonder if maybe an abbreviated version would be helpful. Just so that way, thinking about the others who are like me, maybe in that place where they're new to this meeting structure, I think it's helpful to just kind of set the expectations of like everyone knowing what to do when they would like to speak. so that it's
I think that's
clear.
also a very good idea. I am making a note to that effect. I don't think it's a bad idea because I know all of the town committees are a little bit different, the way they operate, the way chairs handle things, et cetera, et cetera. There is a great deal of authority that resides in the ability to set an agenda and recognize speakers. And some of us are better at it than others. Some of us are better at it at some times than others. But I think people coming to our meetings don't necessarily know how to interact or how we operate. And I think that's a very good idea. And I think I could even give a little overview beforehand as well. But I generally think that's a very good idea also. Thank you for the suggestion. Anybody else? Okay, thank you all very much. This is great. All righty, so next item on the agenda, we have 4 presentations tonight. Chief Madden is here to talk to us about the needs of the fire department. Chief, you have the floor. Thank you for coming and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Do you have the PowerPoint I sent over? I sent it to our Ms. Praval earlier today.
Oh, I don't know. Karen, did you send it to Lynn so she can run it?
No, I did, and I can forward that to her. Wasn't sure
Oh.
how it's going to be presented tonight.
Karen, if you want to
Or do you want to run it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
either
I
one.
can share my screen. If you
Can you
just
do
give
that?
me- Yeah, I
So
don't mind.
So Chris, if you want to just ask Karen to advance when you need it, that'll work.
Absolutely.
Okay, just if you can just give me 1 minute and I'll pull it up.
Take
Sure.
your time. Thank you for doing it. I'm sorry. I dropped the ball on this one. I should have coordinated that a little bit better, but it's all right. If Karen, thank you for spending the time tonight. My God, I can't imagine what you've been going through the last few weeks.
That's no problem.
She's been a tremendous help for me as well. I can't thank her enough for walking me through this process. Obviously, last year being my first year of doing the budget process, and then obviously the change in the way things are done a little bit here. Working with Karen's been great for me so far.
Well, she's getting high marks from a lot of people around town. She had big shoes to fill because Amy had done it for so long, but she's there and plus. So keep up the good work. It's great.
Yeah, so I think I worked with Amy for about a week. So our department budget, we were level funded versus some of the stuff that we're looking for. So the things that we're looking for. So the first slide, Karen, if you go to the first slide, I just want to tell you about us.
Wow.
Last year, 2021 was a record year for the fire department. We did 6,000 calls for service. It increased to 568 from 2020. 4,551 emergency calls, so increase of 450 from the year before. That included 121 fires, which 23 were active building fires, where direct intervention from the fire department, in some cases, some homeowners did some fantastic firefighting on their own, and knocked down some incipient fires, and allowed us to go in there and really open things up and make sure that they were completely out. And the other big one from emergency side would be 2,400 EMS calls, rescue calls, EMS calls. Extremely busy for the year. We've been just, the men and women of the fire department have done a fantastic job with the way that things have gone, over the last, 2 years now, 20 months, 24 months. So we've been extremely busy. One of the other things that I wanted to point out here right now is 773 inspections last year by the fire prevention officer. And the amount of work that he's done is been unbelievable, helping out. And some of the other numbers that we looked at, we went to 56 known COVID calls. So COVID has changed the way that we operate. Absolutely. We take extra precautions, obviously, when you have that, and going to someone's house is in dealing with how people live and everything else, and then that COVID positive, it really is a challenging situation. And the other one there is, almost 2,800 unknown calls. We have no idea whether the person had COVID or not. We're in the house, we're helping them out medicals wise, or doing whatever they're calling us to, and just not knowing what the situation, what's on the other side of that door. So I think that's a pretty big number, to see what we're doing and how we're reacting to this pandemic is making sure that our people are safe and you know, you just never know what's on that other side of the door. So those are just some brief statistics, you know, for the department. So when we're going through the budget, you know, you take around, and this is my real first year of taking a real deep dive into the budget and trying to figure out what is going to benefit the department, what's going to really enhance us, and where the money should be spent. And so we do have a current fire prevention officer, Lieutenant Vitaliano. Again, he did, you know, almost 800 inspections, in charge of it, 30 fire drills. So when you look at, you know, what we're trying to do, I'm trying to add another fire prevention officer / training officer, really. So we do have we were approved a 14th lieutenant, and I believe fiscal year 2016, but it had never been funded. And I know Chief Grant was looking to try and get that funded as a full-time training officer, EMS officer, to make sure that the department's adequately trained. So when I was looking at that, and that spot has been sitting there in our budget for a few years, and I was trying to figure out, you know, what the best way to do this was. And you know, when I saw this number, Lieutenant Vitaliano, 743 inspections, 30 fire drills that he conducted on his own, and that number for me kind of surprised me. I know he's busy, he's extremely busy, and I didn't know the number was that high. He is constantly going out doing these inspections. So any type of new construction has to be inspected by the fire department. Any house for sale has to be inspected by the fire department. Any rehabs, renovations have to be inspected by the fire department to make sure they have working smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. Schools needed to be inspected quarterly, hospital quarterly, elderly complex quarterly, fire alarms have to be inspected. So he is just, the position is getting overwhelmed. And with all the 40Bs coming up, you know, you look at, say, you know, one of these 40Bs, he has to go through and check out these plans that for these buildings. And you know, say an apartment has 7 devices, where it's, you know, 6 smoke detectors, a pull station, and a carbon monoxide detector. That all has to be, one, approved before construction, made sure that it was done in the right way during construction, and then tested at the end of construction. So the amount of work lying ahead to keep on top of these contractors and these general contractors and these builders, to make sure that they are doing everything they need to be, that is making these apartments safe, or these buildings safe. It's an extreme undertaking for that office. So if we were to add this other fire prevention, we would be able to have, you know, a second person to take the lighten the load a little bit. And the other part of that is, when he takes a weekend off, or he took a Friday off, and he came in on a Monday, and he had a stack of paperwork this big that was waiting for him, just because he took a day off. And, you know, that's kind of unfair for homeowners. It's unfair for building construction, you know, contractors, that they're trying to follow a schedule. And if he takes a couple of days off, there is no backup. So we need to make sure that we have somebody here to make sure that all these plans are done the right way and follow the fire prevention codes. Again, future development of the town, all the 40Bs that are coming in, the Granite Ave project, now that, you know, you look at the Milton Village, the projects down there, it's just, that office is going to be inundated with work, and I just don't see it letting up anytime soon. So what I would like this position to fill this position, would be a part-time fire prevention officer to take up the slack for Lieutenant Vitaliano, to make sure everything gets covered. But then the other part of it, I'd like to make sure that we have a full-time training officer, or a part-time training officer, which this person would be able to conduct training evolutions and make sure the department is training the right way. Sorry, just taking a quick drink. So conduct training. And so the picture that you see here is, we were donated a house, and you know, we don't get opportunities very often to do some of the destructive work that we do, like cutting a hole in a roof to vent a fire above us. So, you know, you can see the extreme danger of this, and to not have a full-time training officer to make sure that one, the training is going to schedule the training, then 2, make sure that the training is going the right way and safe, and to make sure that everything gets documented, We don't have that. The training officer right now works from his shift. He's not there during these training evolutions. He just prescribes it, lines up the space that we can do it, tells us what to do. And then, it's up to the company officers to make sure that it gets done right. So there's no continuity between the groups to make sure that we're doing stuff. And one of the things that we look at, we haven't had a live fire training exercise in over 5 years. So our firefighters not training in the environment that we need to, just because, we never had that real position, that person to take that by the horns and to drive the training for the department is really lacking. So the other part of it too is we do have an EMS officer, and anytime the EMS officer does anything, to coordinate. Sorry, I'm gonna mute myself for 1 second. They're going out.
You didn't have to orchestrate that as part of your presentation. We know you're busy.
I'm in the firehouse. I think they're all together, so they just hit the tones to make sure. So the EMS officer to coordinate, all of our members. I believe we were at 44 members, and we have 9 more that are ready to take the national exam. I'm sorry. Sorry, it's a motor vehicle accident they're responding to. So the EMS officer.
Chris, I'm going to interrupt you. I should have started by asking everybody who wasn't speaking to mute, just so that we don't have distractions. So I'm sorry, continue.
Sure, thanks. So we have an EMS officer, and the EMS officer coordinates all of our supplies, training, our EMTs getting certified through with Transformative Care, formerly Fallon. And that person gets paid overtime to coordinate all that stuff. And again, we have 9 members right now that are ready to take their national exam to become full-time or full EMTs. And so that is something that I think that we could probably slide that role into this position as well. So the way I've always looked at this training officer would be the training / EMS officer. So I think this really would streamline the department in multiple ways. It would give us a backup, take a little bit of burden off the fire prevention, and then it will give us a full-time training officer to conduct training in the department, and make sure that our EMS, our continuing education. We have a good working relationship with the with Transformative Ambulance, the EMS provider for the town, and just to make sure that the department is trained and ready to go in any kind of emergency. So I believe this training officer, this fire prevention training officer position is really needed to move this department forward. Like we talked about a little before, is the new firehouse is, the technology is going to be there. The facility is going to be there. Now we need the people to make sure that we go there. And one of the things that I look at, and I think I said it to Mr. Dennehy and Ms. Praval, that tragedy in New York with 30 that had passed, and 100% that was fire prevention, and the fire prevention office, to make sure that those doors close when they're supposed to, when the fire alarms go off, and those smoke detectors ring out through the entire building to make sure that everything is working. It's extremely important for the safety of the residents of the town. So that's the first initiative that we're looking to increase. Karen, can we go to the next one? So the next one, fire investigation, and this is a picture of the Who's It Club. So when we take a look at, that's what they faced when they were there. So fire investigation, we never had a budget for this, and Mass General Law, Chapter 148, Section 2, requires all fires in Massachusetts to be investigated. And so again, when I said 121 fires last year, some were very, very minor, contained to food on the stove or microwave or something like that. But I think we had about 25 to 30 that had to be investigated further by our fire investigation unit. There were a couple of arsons that were suspected. So our fire investigation unit currently works with the Mass State Police and their fire investigation unit when it gets to that. And obviously something like the Who's It Club, we included the Massachusetts State Police in that investigation as well. So what we're asking for a line item budget would be or a budget for the fire investigation unit would be for about $25,000. $10,000 for overtime for responding to fires. There was a fire Christmas morning, and one of our investigators had to leave his family and respond to that house for that fire to investigate. And so I'll just give you a brief overview. You look at every fire has to be investigated. It's not just arson. We don't call it arson anymore, but some of the things that our investigators do is they help out the homeowners tremendously. So when we have a fire, the fire's out, we pick up and go home. Our investigators stay on scene and have those and investigate the fire to find out cause and origin. They're not looking to see who did it, what did it. They're just trying to find out the cause and origin, and it's going to help the homeowners with their insurance companies. It's going to, the insurance companies. So if we deem it an electrical fire, the insurance companies are most likely going to go right along with it. Our investigators are extremely well prepared, trained, and have these national certifications that we're looking for. They are, one of our investigators is probably one of the best investigators in the state, and the other one is right behind him. So they can help the homeowners deal with the aftermath of the fire, and that before the insurance company comes in and everything else, our investigators can steer the homeowners, to which way helps out the best, and how to take care of them, and really be that person. Nobody's ever had a fire in a house and nobody knows what to do. And our investigators, after they investigate the fire, will then assist the homeowner in anything that they need with insurance companies, places to stay, the Red Cross. They're a tremendous resource to the community, just with their experience from investigating fires for so long. So, like I said, we did have 121 fires last year, 23 structure, 12 vehicle fires, and 2 of those vehicle fires were deemed arson. So it's really important to make sure that everything gets investigated. And you look at the things that they can have continuing education. I believe it's 25 hours per year that they have to continue to educate themselves on. So that would be, some of the overtime, the training money would be to let those 2 take classes. And they are members of the National Association of Fire Investigation and the International Association of Arson Investigators. So you look at the numbers and how do we come to these numbers? So $10,000. So we look at, last year they investigated 25 fires is what they investigated. And the overtime came to, I think, around $9,800. Something like the Who's It Club took multiple days to investigate that. And that was lining up. We had investigators from multiple different companies to get out there and investigate that fire, from electrical to, obviously the arson squad for the Massachusetts State Police, and that all had to be coordinated by our members. And then the final report at the end, took a little time to get that done. The 2 arson fires that they investigated last year, obviously dealing with the insurance companies on that. And then all the little fires that we came, anytime they respond, they're required to be compensated for 4 hours of pay. Well, their investigations take several hours. Then it's followed up the next day by completing their report and then meeting with the homeowners again the next day, or whenever the homeowners need them. They're constantly going out to make sure that the homeowners or the residents are taken care of and are answered. All questions are answered. So that's for the $10,000 for the overtime and the training. To become, and right now we have 2 arson investigators that are fully trained, but we have the continuing education, which is, I think, about $3,000 to pay for the continuing education. But one of the problems that we have is both of them are nearing. One of them is going to be promoted to deputy chief in the next year, so we keep it at the lieutenant level. The deputy chief level would just be too expensive because they make a lot more money for that person to come in. And the other one has a retirement date that I know of. He won't tell me when it is, but it's something. So to train, the advanced, the basic arson class of the Massachusetts Firefighting Academy is 88 hours, and the advanced arson class is 88 hours as well. And then the continuing education classes, I know that there's a explosive one. So if you ever investigate an explosion, I believe that's about 100 hours. So these classes that they're required to take, it just tremendous amount of time, to take these classes. And, I know that to get certified to the National Association of Fire Investigation, that is 100 hours, and it's $1,000 to apply for that certification. And those certifications mean everything. If there's any lawyers here, they have, it says that they have the training, and it has, they keep up the Con Ed, and they're doing the right things that they need to do to make sure that when they do investigate a fire, they're doing all the proper stuff. So again, $25,000.
Chris, I'm going to interrupt you and ask you to move it along because we do have a very full agenda. This is fascinating, and in the subcommittee, I think they're going to love this level of detail. We love it, but we just need to move along.
Okay,
Please.
so those are the two big initiatives. You can see here some of the differences that we have, salary and wages. We're looking for a 2% increase, I believe. Actually, Karen, could you go to the next slide? This kind of explains it, everything else. So we're looking for $237,000 above and beyond level funding right now. And again, $82,000 would be for the fire prevention training officer. $15,000 would be for the, to pay for the fire investigation unit training. And then the overtime, we look at $119,000. We had $100,000 cut from our fiscal year 22 budget. And that really, really hurt us. We are really up against it right now for the rest of this year. And basically that covers contractual time off, the backfill, anybody takes a vacation time, we need a backfill, stuff like that. The Juneteenth holiday, where it came out late and we weren't able to account for it, and it's not in the contract yet, but I'm sure that we're going to observe that holiday again, and to, give the members the time off. There's a cost to that. The backfill cost is tremendous on that. And, stuff like, the storm coverage this weekend, if we had a fire, we would have been up against it. We did have several calls, but we need to make sure that we increase our staffing during storms. And we know that there's been plenty of storms that, have come through over the last year or so. So 9,952 is that 2% increase in overtime. One of the things that I found over the years is our overtime budget has been level funded straight through, and we never, every time our members get a 2% or a 3% increase in wages, we're actually taking a 2% cut in the overtime budget because we're never compensating that overtime budget to keep up with the salary and wages. And then $10,000 to investigate all the fires, that overtime budget for the members to respond and investigate all fires. And then one of the other things that I'm looking for is, or we're looking for, is $20,000. Last year, we were cut $20,000 out of our new equipment line item. We were at 40,000. We were looking for 40,000. They cut us down to 20. So we're looking to go back up to 40,000 this year. Some of the things we're replacing aging hose. That stuff gets beat up. Our water and ice rescue, we were out practicing ice rescue the other day, and several of our members were getting soaked in the ice suit because it has a hole in it. And, it's about 8 to 10 years old. So all that stuff needs to be replaced on a regular basis. So that's pretty much the gist of the extra expenses that we're looking for above and beyond level funding.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming. I have a couple of questions. I want to make sure that we have enough time for some general questions. I have two. First off, 2,400 EMS calls in 21. How does that compare to the year before?
I think it was up. It was up. So having these meetings, I'd have to take a real quick look at it. I can get you that number, but I know we have a monthly meeting with Transformative, and they agreed that their EMS calls were up. But one of the problems that they were seeing is that nobody wanted to go to the hospital. So they would come, we would go check the people out because of COVID. We would go check the people out, and if it wasn't like, hey, you're going to die right now, they would say, you know what, I'm just going to stay home, or can you just wrap my ankle? It hurts, put some ice on it. So, yeah, so it's definitely up from the year before. I want to say close. We were like about 2,100 runs, EMS calls the year before.
That's still a significant increase. And the second question that I had is, when you talk about the overtime budget, what is the rate of overtime? Is it time and a half or double time or triple time or what?
It's time and a half.
Time and a half. Okay, thank you. Does the membership, thank you, Karen. Can you take that down? Thank you very much. Questions from the membership for Chief Madden? Steve, I see your hand first. You have the floor.
Just a question on revenue. If you're way up on inspections, I don't know what we charge for an inspection in town. Do you have any numbers there?
So for like your residential like 26F, which is like if you're selling, it's $50 per inspection there. It's like the propane inspections, the permits that they use to install propane is $50. So nothing that's gonna earth shattering, but yeah, so there is some revenue coming in with that.
Okay, thank you.
That sounds like the cheapest part of the whole transaction. Kathy,
thank you.
Steve, are you done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Kathy, you have the floor.
Hi, thank you. Just a quick question. On the training, is that instructional like online or is it in person or do they have to go travel and go someplace?
So right now we don't travel anywhere. We don't. So with the budget, with that $100,000 that was taken out of our budget, we are I've been very stingy on giving any kind of training or allowing members. So what we do is we have a training officer that has a stipend and he has been prescribing training to the groups to make sure that, we do stuff on a regular basis. Basically every Monday through Friday, our members are training. Saturday, they'll do whatever kind of extra special stuff that they got. And then Sundays, usually, make sure that we do have some like house cleaning detail stuff. But so right now, like, I think I was the last person that went through fire officer training. So all of our officers, about 7 officers behind me that never took a class for fire officer 1. So there is some online stuff, but it's not good. It's not as good as hands-on. To be a firefighter, you're putting, your hands on the tools. You're putting, for auto extrication, for EMS, you have to put your hands on a patient or a rescue dummy or whatever. So everything we do for training is hands-on right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions for the chief? Chief, I would ask you how the proceedings for the fire station construction are going. If you can give us like 30 seconds on that, what the status is, because we haven't had a briefing from the fire station building committee in quite a while, and I'm just curious how that's going and what transition plans are already beginning, if any.
Sure. George, limiting me to 30 seconds is a challenge, so I appreciate it.
That's okay. You're up to the challenge.
So the fire station building committee is doing very, very well. We're very, very close to putting headquarters out to bid. We have our final meeting with all of mechanical contractors, electrical contractors, the communication contractors. We have that final meeting tomorrow about noon to make sure that we're all on the same page to put our project out for bid.
And the construction docs are all finished?
They are 95% last week. I believe today is the pencil down moment where basically the documents should be done today. And just to make sure that we're all on the same page with our plan going forward.
And for those of you who've never done a construction project, when you say construction docs, that's telling you where the outlets are going to go and how thick the moldings are going to be. It's that precise. So that means you're ready to go. All you need is the money and you're ready to go. So that's very encouraging that you've moved this fast. That's really good.
I am delighted for being in this position for a little while, for 2 years now. I'm delighted at how far it's come in such a short time for myself. So
terrific.
It's sorely needed. As you can see, my office behind me, I have no room for storage any place because half the building is coming down in the first phase. And
Well, good luck with all that. Thank you very much. The subcommittee will make arrangements to get the very detailed briefing. And again, thank you very much for coming and speaking to us tonight.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everything that you guys do for the town.
As do we. And we're grateful for you making sure that we all don't go up in flames.
Thank you.
Terrific. Our next item is the library. And we have several. Will, you're here, are you not?
I am here, yes.
Will, terrific. All right, so hi there, how are you?
Very good.
Please go ahead. This is Will, identify yourself and whoever else is along with you and take it away.
Thank you, Chair Asher, for having the library with you in your group tonight. I am Will Adamczyk. I'm your library director. I'm joined tonight by the chair of the library trustees, Paul Hayes. I'm also joined by other members of the library trustees, including Hyacinth Critchlow, Christine Hodlin, John Folcarelli are with us tonight. Hopefully, I think I saw everybody who was here, and that's them. And I wanted to just take a quick minute to say a thank you to the DPW and the Consolidated Facilities Department for all the work they did over the weekend, getting the town ready. Selfishly, I'm thanking you on behalf of the library for getting us up and ready to go this morning. I have a brief slideshow. I'll be as quick as possible, but I'm thankful for the opportunity to talk a little bit about the library, what we've done over the past year or so, and then to identify our funding priorities for fiscal 23. I'm going to attempt to share my screen and start my show. If everybody can see that, that's great. Good. So first, I'd like to start by thanking Karen Praval and Mike Dennehy for the work they've done so far, getting us up to this point in the budget process. I know the timing's been a little bit different this year for a number of reasons, but I appreciate some of the changes we've made, including mid-year reviews of budgets, so mid-year reviews of fiscal 22, and some tweaking of the way the system is going. It's been very beneficial, again, for the library. Just looking ahead, or looking back, I should say, let's see. During fiscal 21, the library was open for business the entire year. Some of that time was a curbside service, but the first week of fiscal 21, the library opened on July 6, 2020. We opened our building back up with a number of safety precautions and some capacity limits. And soon after that, we restored Saturday hours. Soon after that, we restored Sunday hours. And aside from a temporary relapse last January into February, when there was a surge in COVID, when we closed back down the building, we've been open every day since. And when I say we were closed to the public, we were open, offering online, over the phone support, curbside services. So the library was open 365 during the year. And this is just another visualization. As you can see, just a few grayed out days when you couldn't get into the library during fiscal 21. And we're very proud of that. And it took a lot of coordinating with the town and the Board of Health. Just looking at the numbers of fiscal 21, our collection usage was up almost 10% overall in fiscal 21, despite a pandemic. Our physical collection was up 24% year over year. And our digital collection did slide a little bit, but that's because in fiscal 20, the only choice was a digital collection. So, our digital collection from fiscal 19 to fiscal 20 was up 60%. But if you look from fiscal 19 to fiscal 21, it was still up 47%. So people have been using the library like never before. We would like to compare ourselves to other libraries. It's hard to pick exactly who, but tonight I'm focusing on other members of the Old Colony Library Network. Milton had the second highest physical usage in our network, behind only Quincy, which is a 4-branch network and a city of 100,000 people. Wow. Traditionally, we're closer to a 5th to 8th position. So in perspective, Old Colony Library Network as a collective was down 30% last year during fiscal 21. We saw a 23% increase, and we were one of only 3 of the 28 libraries in Old Colony that improved year over year in fiscal 21. And this is just a quick statistics page of our digital usage during fiscal 21. And I put this here because it's not just ebooks anymore. It's audiobooks, it's music, it's video, it's language learning, it's consumer reports. So not only do we offer all of these different collections and services, but the library staff has to stay up to date on training, so we can train people how to use them. And so we can field all of the new questions on how to get these on your devices and how to use all these different services. It's, we're still checking out books every day, but we're also training and explaining all of these new ways to access library services. We also continued programming. The children's department was very quick. They were the first department to transfer over to Zoom programming, but soon thereafter, everybody else did in the library as well. We offered over 500 programs during fiscal 21. Over 400 of those were for children and teens. And we had over 8,500 people attend programs, either remotely or in person. We're currently doing remote, we're doing in person, and we're doing a hybrid where some people are in the room and some people are on the screen. We had over 45,000 people visit the library during fiscal 21. And again, this is at a time when we did have restrictions on how long you could stay and how many people were there. I'm happy to say those restrictions are gone, and our numbers continue to increase. We also, we didn't just stand back in fiscal 21. We offered 3 new initiatives to the town. One of those is called Milton Moves. It is a year-long physical literacy initiative focused on fitness and wellness. It include walking and hiking programs, both outside the building, but also programs where we had experts come in to talk about things like that. We introduced a library of things, and we did it just in time. We started it off with some Chromebooks and some wireless hotspots. We continue to get more and more wireless hotspots, and at the peak of COVID, up to now, they've come in handy. We haven't seen them back in the building. They continuously are checked out by our residents. There are also fun things like games and consumer electronics and tools, but our biggest sellers are technology. And finally, another new initiative was a writer in residence. This was our first year. Local author Joan F. Smith has been our writer in residence, offering programs and advice on writing, editing, and publishing. So how did we do it? We were able to offer continuous service. We were able to implement new ideas and new solutions, and we remained an essential service to the town. We did it through the leadership of my administration team at the library. Sarah Trogue, the assistant director, has been one of the pillars of strength for the library. We have a very dedicated and flexible staff, and I knock on wood, healthy staff throughout the past many months. We have a strategic plan that we're able to follow and is continuously assessed by myself and the trustees. We made physical and digital changes. I know Bill Ritchie's coming up soon. Consolidated Facilities Department is one of our great partners in town, making changes on an as needed basis as a result of COVID, but also before COVID and since. We have financial and volunteer support from the library friends and the foundation, and again, coordination with other town departments. How do we make it continue? That's really why you have us here tonight. We continue it by adopting the library's fiscal 23 budget proposal. There are 4 major priorities in this budget. The first is staffing, much like Chief Madden. This is a 1.5 FTE request. This is for a full-time reference librarian and a part-time library assistant. These positions were first requested in fiscal 15. One of them was approved by the Personnel Board in fiscal 17, the other in fiscal 18, but they've remained unfunded during that time. These positions will allow us to, among other things, increase our children's and teen programming and outreach, and to improve and increase our technology assistance. The second major ask is for the books and materials line. As you know, we talk about this on a regular basis. Approximately $38,000 increase will bring the books and materials line to the state minimum requirement of $230,000. And then in the past year, two things that we've worked on are replacing the automated materials handler. This is the sorter that we put through the book drop, and when people return books, it's the machine that was put in when the library was built. It is past end of life and is failing, and we've undertaken a new contract to replace that. To multi-year lease contract that includes maintenance. We also have started a new wireless printing solution, which replaces an older system. This will allow our residents to print wirelessly from their laptops, phones, whatever, in the building and from home, and have a print release station available in the library. It modernizes the public printing opportunities at the library. So the fiscal 23 budget that we have presented, it's a $168,000 increase over appropriated, but it's only a $36,000 increase over last year's request. We're staying consistent with our request. We're not adding things. We still know what the needs of the library are, and we're not trying to add any new programs to this, just to fund things that have gone unfunded for, in some cases, for several years. This budget would reach the minimum requirements for state aid, which over the last couple of years has been approximately $45,000. It includes supplemental increases as outlined on the previous slide. We know there will be a salary set aside at some point, as there are negotiations going on with many unions. And it also includes smaller contractual increases. I wanted to talk a little bit quickly, I'm almost done, about other support the library received in fiscal 21 and prior years. For example, approximately $20,000 from our Friends of the Library group to support library programming that pays for speakers, concerts, and crafts for children's programs. The Milton Library Foundation donated over $75,000 to the library in fiscal 21, and much of that went towards funding the needs of ebooks and digital collections, as well as the Chromebooks and hotspots, among other things. I've talked about it in the past. The cost of ebooks for libraries is considerable compared to a print book. Finally, Milton, the trustees of the library have also spent money from the trust funds this year to fund the first year contracts for the sorter and the wireless printing, as well as to construct a shade structure outside of the children's room so we can do more outdoor programming as a result of COVID, and to fund the writer in residence project. I will just do a caveat here and say that, personally, I am the co-chair of the Mass Library Association Legislative Committee. Over the last several years, I've been involved in advocacy work at the State House, primarily working towards increasing funding to the state aid for public libraries. Over the last couple of years, we've been able to get increases in $1 million a year for a couple of years. And that's, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we received $35,000 in state aid. We receive $45,000 now. I continue that work with my colleagues, and every little bit helps. It would be nice if we got all of that $1 million. But and also, I mentioned ebooks just a moment ago. In calendar year, I should say in fiscal year, currently fiscal 22, fiscal 22. An average ebook cost for us is $45. It should still be about $9.99 for a consumer. A print book averages $15 for us. So you can see the discrepancy there. I've been working with my committee with State Rep Ruth Balzer from Newton. She's introduced a bill, House 4120, which is a consumer protection geared bill not going against the publishers, but trying to create a fairer, more equitable playground or groundwork for public libraries in the state of Massachusetts. The goal of the bill is to get publishers to sell to libraries for the same price that they sell to consumers. We've been working with other states have introduced similar bills, including Maryland and New York. So I'm doing all I can to try to get costs down for the ebooks, but right now they're still a little high. And that is all I have for tonight. Hopefully I didn't take up too much of your time, but I think that the library has been very busy. I can't thank the trustees enough for their support, and I can't thank my staff enough for all the hard work they've done over the past 2 years in complicated and challenging times.
Well, thank you very much. This was really quite an uplifting presentation, because you're able to do so much with so little. This is like multiplication of loaves and fishes. It is. I just think that what you are all doing in particularly difficult times through last year is admirable. So again, congratulations. 2 questions from me. As you go through and make your try to execute the strategic plan, what would be the top priority for you if you didn't have everything, you couldn't get everything you wanted? What were the 2 things that are most important to you?
Thanks for that question. Honestly, our top priority is staffing. We can't do much else unless we have more people to do it. Everybody on the staff is multi-purpose and works, has a main job, a side job, and then a small job on the side of that. So in order
It sounds like you're running a family.
Yeah, right. In order to do anything else, we need the bodies in the building. So our priorities would be the 1.5 FTE.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That helped. But again, one of the things that I find particularly encouraging is the concept of a strategic plan. Having written so many of them in my career, that gets you where you need to go, because that helps you prioritize. Questions from the membership? Scott, you have your hand up.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, I would echo what George says, that it's no question the library is thriving because of excellent strategic planning and probably implementation too. I'm pretty clear about that. And I also like the idea that you've got a lot of volunteer involvement with the library. That sounds pretty good. And I would hope that some other departments would look into that also. That's a great way to get people to help for less cost. The ebook question, is there a charge for renting an ebook at the library, or is that no charge?
It's the same as print books. It's no charge.
So since you've got triple the cost for the ebook, would it make sense to maybe, for the convenience of it, charge a convenience fee? Have you thought about that?
So it's an interesting question. I mean, we pride ourselves on being a free public library, so we don't have charges for anything except late and overdue and lost items. It's something we can talk about as a board, but I would say we would be the only public library that I would know of that does it. Just because it's just another format of a book, and books have always been free.
Right. Well, personally, you and I know that the gouging that's going on there.
Right.
And perhaps that would create a backlash. People would go back to paper, or they would maybe could start a movement against the publishers.
Right.
I mean, it's obviously a cheap shot. We buy software in my business, and these guys all think they're your partner.
Yeah.
They want a piece of the action for every click, and it's really gotten obscene. And I don't like to see competition limited by legislation. I don't know if that's exactly right, but I mean, there's a way to fight back against them. And whether you like it or not, you're a nonprofit, but you're in a competitive world. Just my thought about this.
No, I appreciate that.
And it's not like, I don't know that you're giving up your free service. That concept came with paper books, print books. And if you have the books in print and they're able to get them for free in print, you're still free. And if they want the convenience of digital, I mean, if you want to dance, you got to pay the fiddler. I'm just the kind of a way of thinking about it. I don't
No.
see you becoming an unfree library, basically.
Yeah,
But
can't have-
thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
Oh, Henny, you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the library team for coming in for their presentation. Scott, I think I'm paying my fair share in fees. My kids and I keep the library fees going plenty. I'm still looking for some books now, so you know it's a bit. So I try to start by bringing my overdue books. So I hope we'll get better.
Oh, Henny, I hope that's not gonna fund the gap here.
That's a strategy. It's a strategy. I agree with your sentiments about the free library and the importance of that and the value of that. I know, like, you know, some towns used to have the word free library even in the title, right? And so I do think there's something powerful about that sentiment. The question I have is in the presentation. I remember your presentation, always thorough, and thank you for the team that's come. It's Critchlow and others who come. We know you guys are always put together. You have a line item for the sorter. And then you're talking about the cost of sorter, and it looks to me that the Library Foundation has paid the first year of the sorter, so you can get it, and sort of, even if we don't fund it, you still have what you need, at least for year one, with the hopes that I think we will fill in the gap. So year two, you have a sorter that's been paid for foundation that we will need to pick up year two to continue the lease. So that's my first question. Is that correct?
So that's a good question. We are in year one now. And the sorter will be implemented during fiscal 22. So that is being paid for by the trustees this year. And yes, so it's already a line item for maintenance, and it has been a line item for maintenance since we had the machine, you know, these past 12 years. And because the new lease incorporates both, it is increased, but it's not a totally new bill. So it's the difference between the new charge and it was approximately $14,000 maintenance fee annually. And the other thing to say about the sorter is, you know, when the sorter was put into the building, you know, 12 years ago, it saved the addition of 1.5 FTE at the time, based on the repetitive. Based on the process of what it does, basically, you know, handling 200,000 to 300,000 items a year.
And so that was my second question. I'm honestly still not clear based on response as far as if we don't fund that sorter for year two, and I apologize for children in the background. Lots of fun in this house. But the what happens? Is that going to be a gap, and will the sorter be able to stay there? And that was my second one. The 1.5 FTE. The way you presented it, just wanted to clarify, is that saying this sorter saves us, so 1.5 FT would now go away if we have this, or I think what you're saying, 1.5 FT is already gone and is being saved by the sorter.
That's so, okay. I'll do the FTE part first. If we did not have the sorter, we would need an additional 1.5 FTE unrelated to the 1.5 that is in our proposal. Yes. Okay. And we are contractually obligated to pay for the sorter in fiscal 23 as part of our operating budget. I will answer it that way. So the intention was for the trustees realized what was happening was the sorter was beginning to break down, and we needed to get it done sooner than later. And they authorized the use of trust funds to pay for the first year of this project, of this contract, using trust funds with the idea that it would become part of operating its day-to-day operations.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Other questions from the membership? Library trustee Paul Hayes, is that your hand up? Yeah, I think it is.
It is.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to give a quick message on behalf of our director and in support of his budget. Thank you to the Warrant Committee for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Board of Trustees. My name is Paul Hayes. I'm the chair of the Milton Public Library Trustees, and we just wanted to speak to assure the Warrant Committee that we like to emphasize our support for Will's request, his request for level funding, and we want to ensure the Warrant Committee that due diligence has been made by the trustees, to ensure two requests. That one, the 5-year strategic plan that Will has submitted, that the trustees have approved, and that has been submitted to the Commonwealth and approved by the Commonwealth, is met by this budget, including an emphasis on addressing issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and an increase to the members of the Milton community who are currently not being served by the library, with specific focus on the demographic groups that are underrepresented in attendance of the library and have disproportionately been underserved by public systems in the greater Boston area. That's an important part of the strategy, and that's one of the emphases of Will's ask. In addition, that the budget's been reviewed by us with subcommittees, that all Will's requests have efficiencies and expenditures have been analyzed, and they're all very reasonable to meet the line item. And just want to emphasize, we want to support Will in emphasizing that that the amount of work that the library has done during this most challenging time, these last 18 months, has been exemplary. Not only has the services of the Milton Public Library gone up, and as you know, it rivals Quincy, but the library was open and serving our town as much as any agency in the town. The soonest, open the longest, and they've really done right while being, for the last 5 years, short-staffed. So the staff has remained constant and has been asked to do more and more every month, as Will had 5 years ago, that 1.5 FTEs approved, but it has not been approved in the budget, so he's not been able to have that in his on his staff. And that our library is exemplary and is doing the work at hand while being shorthanded. It's time to try to honor Will's request for those positions. And then finally, I think sometimes it gets just either not emphasized or sort of brushed aside, that presently the library is out of compliance. When the library budget does not meet the Commonwealth's requirements for books and materials to be met, we're exemplary, we're meeting the cause, we're doing above and beyond, while at the same time we're out of compliance with the state. And given the size of the Milton Public Library budget compared to other departments in the town, we think that the trustees ask strongly that it's time to meet those requests so that we're meeting Will's requests, that we're compliant, and that we are level funded. And so I'd like to thank the Warrant Committee for that opportunity to emphasize that and support our director, who's just done a fantastic job this year's of service at the Milton Public Library.
Thank you very much. Susanna, your hand was up next.
Thank you. I think it's obvious that we have a true treasure in Will, and we're so thankful for everything that you're doing. Mr. Hayes, your comment raised a question for me that I had. I'm comfortable with the budget request. Everything makes sense, but I'm curious about the equity and diversity piece. Is there? I go to the library all the time. I have the same problem that O'Henny has, that I owe $9 million, so I could probably cover the budget also. But I'm curious about where we're coming to the conclusion that we have a diversity problem in terms of people using the library. No one has ever asked me for my demographic data at the library, and I certainly see a full spectrum of representation when I'm there. I'm just, have we done survey? I don't want to go too far into the weeds on this, but have we done like surveys? What's making us think that there are underrepresented populations in terms of library users?
Well, the quick answer, thank you for that. And wants to acknowledge that, right, the library does not collect demographic information on who has library cards and who visits the library.
Yeah.
That Will would have the specific numbers. I believe it's we're pushing towards 30,000 citizens in the town of Milton. We're north of 28,000, but there are only 18,000 library cards issued. So just straight up, we are not meeting everyone in the town. And then Will can speak to, not beyond anecdotally, that members of the community don't feel represented. And there have been times when there's been programming and opportunities at the library that some have felt that it doesn't represent all demographic groups in the town. So that's somewhat anecdotal. Will can be more specific, but also in the times that we're living, the library trustees want to acknowledge that there's still a significant amount of work all of us need to do, especially those of us committed to serving our communities in diversity in addressing issues of lack of equity and our history of inequity, not just in the greater Boston area, but in our nation, and that's top of the list, and that we want to make sure that we're being very transparent and open about the things that we need to do and can do better in this area.
Okay, I just want to, just to be sure, I think that, you know, the strategic plan was amazing. I think it was very clear and thorough. I guess I'm just, this piece doesn't seem to be completely thought out from my perspective. You know, I think everybody agrees that diversity and equity are laudable goals. From my experience, which is anecdotal, of course, the library is one of the places in Milton where you see the full spectrum of citizenry, you know, whether it's from a racial perspective or otherwise. So I guess, you know, I'm a little curious about it. It sounds like what you're saying is that these are people coming in and like individuals complaining or raising their concerns about programming. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I just want to make sure I understand where it's coming from. So there's been no, you know, comprehensive analysis of the library attendees, but you've heard from people that they feel underrepresented or that the library isn't meeting their needs. Is that an accurate characterization?
In a nutshell, and it's also the opinion of the trustees that we can be doing more given our experiences as well.
All right.
Perhaps when the subcommittee meets, you can explore that a little bit further.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Chair.
No,
I went too far.
It's perfectly fine. I'm just saying that may be an interesting discussion point to expand the conversation. Scott, you have your hand up. It's still up, or is this a new question?
Yes, it is up. And Susanna started to ask in the same way as me, but you did state that you have 36,000 citizens in the town and 18,000 library memberships. Is that correct?
30,000, 28,000 and 18,000 library memberships.
Right. And I, for one, don't have a library card because I don't want one. And I don't feel underserved. From what I heard you say, if it was correct, is that you feel as opposed to think or have evidence to the fact that there are people being discriminated against by the library. How do you, because they're not, they're feeling underserved. And how specifically are they underserved?
Mr. Chair, if I may respectfully, but Scott, I thought we were going to handle this in committee. Is there's a specific? I'm just saying, if we're going to go down this rabbit hole, there's a bigger equity discussion.
Hang on.
Excuse me, but
please.
I believe free speech was the topic of the letter sent this week, and I got a question.
Oh, Scott, no, I support your question.
You're shutting down the conversation.
I'm not shutting down the conversation, Scott. I just want to have time to speak as well if you're going to start down this line.
The chair is taking his prerogative and asking you to direct your comments to the chair. Scott, do you have anything further to say?
No, I just like an answer to my question. That's all.
All right. Who is compelled to answer that one?
Chair
Will
Asher?
or Paul? Take that one. Henny, if you want to ask a further question after this, that's fine. I still think it's a good idea to have this discussion in committee, but since it was brought up, please answer as much as you can.
Yep.
Generally or as specifically as you want, but please give us an answer.
Thanks for the question. First, I'd like to just say that no one has complained that they feel discriminated against. That's not the way it's come across. But I'll say this: during our strategic planning process, which took place over 2 years and included surveys and a number of focus groups, this was a topic that was brought up at a number of focus groups by a wide range of individuals. And that is one of the reasons it's part of our strategic plan. Also, internally, we have done what is called a diversity audit of our collections, where we look to see if the books and collections in the library are representative of the demographic makeup of the community, and there's room to improve in that way. And in another way, while we do not collect demographic information specifically, we do have the ability to see what by address what neighborhoods in the community do not have library cards. And to your point, Mr. Johnson, that doesn't necessarily mean they're underserved, but it means it's an opportunity for us to try to bring them into the library to see if they are underserved or if they're okay. So it's really, it's a very complex issue. And those are just a couple of factors that spoke to this being part of our strategic plan.
Okay. Oh, Henny, do you have something that you want to ask? I don't want you to feel restricted or otherwise
I do not
unable
feel
to.
restricted. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was a very clear answer. I have no questions.
Okay, very good. Okay. Do we have any further questions for the library library director or the trustees? Thank you all, by the way, for coming. It's helpful to have your perspective as we get perspective from so many other committees in town. So we're grateful that you come. Hyacinth, Paul, John, are you on there? John Focarelli?
Yeah.
And who else did I miss?
Christine Hodlin.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. John, nice to see you. Haven't seen you in a while.
Good to see you.
Anyway,
job.
and Hyacinth, always nice to have you here. So we thank you. We thank all the library trustees. Paul Hayes, thank you very much. This was a very helpful presentation, and any other discussion points from the subcommittee will, I'm sure, come back. And if we do have additional questions, I hope you'll come back as needed.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions or any follow-ups as they come to me. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Next item on the agenda is the Council on Aging. And whom do we have to present tonight?
I'm here, Christine Stanton. I'm the director of the Council on Aging.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for joining us. Is it just yourself tonight?
It's just myself.
Okay,
Yes.
well, welcome. You have the floor. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, members of the Warrant Committee, for allowing me to present. I believe Karen Proval has my PowerPoint to share.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
If you give me a minute, I'll put it up for you.
I feel like the small but mighty department following the two departments I just came.
Hey,
after.
it's important. You serve many people in the town, so
I do.
We're interested to hear what you have to say.
Thank you very much. So Karen, you can go to the first slide. So the mission of the Council on Aging is to support and advocate for residents age 60 and over and their families in the town of Milton. And in the latest US Census numbers, we have 4,839 residents age 65 plus, which is equivalent to 17% of the town's population. This is an increase of 16% from the last census in 2010. And the 17% is actually 10% higher than the Metro Boston regional average. So cities like Newton, Cambridge, Somerville, we're 17% higher. We're 10% higher than cities and towns like that. And this trend is estimated to accelerate as the population ages and demand on services will increase. So we offer programs, services, and resources to promote independent living. So to help keep people in their homes as long as possible. I began in the role in January of 2020. So I was in for 3 months and then we shut down for COVID.
Wow.
And one of the things I'm very proud of is that we were one of very, very few councils on agings in Massachusetts to remain open. We closed from March till May of 2020, and we brought back our walking group. And since we have a beautiful building, we were able to have some outdoor programming back in the spring of 2020. So I'm very proud of being able. We had many, many people from surrounding communities come and want to participate in our programs because we were open and people were dying to do something. So since July of 2020, our membership is up 158%. We started our database with 838 residents, and now we're, as of last Monday up to 2,161 registered users of the center. So we're in contact with 45% of the town's population over age 65. Each month, we offer 58 health and wellness programs, 47 lifelong learning and social programs, 20 outreach programs. We average 1,200 sign-ins per month, so about 14,000 annual sign-ins. So not 14,000 people, but people coming and signing in either to take a Zoom class or to come in person to the building to participate in a program or a service. You can advance it, Karen. Thank you. We offer an extensive transportation program. This was one of my goals when I began in 2020, was really to expand our transportation, to make it known in the town that we have vehicles that will provide transportation to needed medical appointments and grocery shopping. I thought that was very important to seniors who may be living alone and have no one to take them to doctor's appointments. And so we're now providing roughly 430 rides per month, which is about 5,000 annual rides, and it's up 30% in the last 6 months. And lastly, what we do is provide social service supports. We're really like the social service contact for the town. If someone is in need of help, they call the Council on Aging. So we're able to provide counseling and insurance and Medicare. We actually offered an evening program back in the fall for people turning 65 and how to navigate signing up for Medicare. We offer monthly legal and financial assistance. We offer information on nutrition and fuel assistance programs. We're constantly getting a number of phone calls a week for people looking for referrals for help with a family member who has Alzheimer's or dementia, cancer, looking for a walker or a wheelchair, and also what senior housing may be available in Milton and surrounding communities. And we also administer the senior tax work-off program, which is a great way that residents over 65 who income qualified can get a $1,500 rebate on their property taxes per year. So our new initiatives is that we've increased accessibility to transportation. We have a food insecurity initiative. We were able to get a grant through South Shore Elder Services to try to identify needy seniors in towns who may be experiencing food insecurity. We're trying to seek out non-traditional revenue sources through grants and sponsorships with community businesses. We've established a volunteer program, which wasn't in existence before we started. We've expanded our community outreach and visibility. I've been visiting the senior communities in town, Fuller Village, Home Inc., Winter Valley, and Unquity House. We've been offering expanded programming on evening, weekends, and Zoom. We're partnering with the library on their Milton Moves program. We provided a 4-week Tai Chi class, intergenerational Tai Chi, and on February 12th, we're having a line dancing class held at the COA, but part of the Milton Moves program, and that's a Saturday. And so we're partnering with other nonprofits in town to expand the scope and what we do at the Council on Aging. Next one, Karen, thanks. So really, if you want to skip to the next slide, it's broken down, my request. And really, as I heard both the fire and the library departments say, is that staffing is really my number one concern. Right now, we're operating with myself, one other full-time employee, and one part-time employee. We will be filling a vacant position next week for the administrative clerk. But we're just growing by leaps and bounds, and we're spending most of our time answering phone calls. We were actually the hub, if you may recall, of the COVID-19 vaccine back last spring. The vaccination clinics were held at the Council on Aging, and we also fielded over 1,500 phone calls in 4 days, signing people up for vaccine. So that was stressing the staff back then, and we've grown by leaps and bounds. So I'm looking for an assistant director position who would assist in developing and implementing short and long-term strategic goals, manage the volunteer program, develop more community programming, try to do more grant writing, manage outreach social services, and manage programming development through implementation. So that's my large ask. And then physical plant. The building is 22 years old, and the window blinds, the shades that are up, are original. So many of them are inoperable, and we got a quote at $325 a window. There's 36 windows, so obviously the building is very drafty. So that's really something that, for the comfort and of the users of the center, would be important. And then we have a small kitchenette in a underutilized room that is really not functional. So I wanted to upgrade that, and that would allow for people to linger longer at the Council on Aging. We could offer a light lunch in that room. We're finding that social isolation is a huge problem with seniors, especially. So to be able to come take a class, and then after the class, come in, have a cup of soup or a cup of coffee or a hot dog or something light like that. We'd like to be able to offer that and make it more of a social center for people that might have a conversation with someone, strike up a conversation and have something in common with them that they didn't know they had. So we're trying to foster people staying longer at the center. And then this, I don't know if you've noticed, the sign on the corner of Clapp and Walnut is ready to fall down, I say. Besides, you can go to the next slide, Karen. There's a picture of it there. It's a little battered and beaten. We laugh that some days we leave the center feeling like the sun. But so that just, I could use a repair on that, or a new signage would just, make it feel like more of a welcoming place. And then that's a kitchenette idea that we have, just a small under counter refrigerator, microwave. There is a sink there already, so just to make it usable. And that is all I have. I'll take questions. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Christine, thank you very much for coming to do the presentation. I have one quick question. The assistant director slot that you've got is a request, 78,200. Is that a full-time position?
It is, yes, certainly.
Okay. So my question is, if, obviously would love to fund everything for everybody. If you had to, could you cobble this into a part-time position if we're unable to find all the money? I'm not saying we won't. I'm just saying who knows what happens? I'm just asking, could you make a part-time position and make it work?
We would do our best, yes. I think staffing, we just feel constrained without the lack of staff in the building to be able to service. We'll have 3 phone lines ringing at the time, 2 people at the front desk wanting to sign up for events. And it just, we feel like we're always behind the 8 ball. We're never able to talk about strategic planning, talk about forward planning. So yes, I would gratefully take a part-time position.
And the other thing is that in many towns, so many councils on aging have volunteer programs also, which do help to do things like answer phone and help things. And in a new sign, I'm not saying we're not sympathetic, but I mean, I know that we have Scoutmasters on our warrant committee and people who have done it. I mean, is this an Eagle Scout project to have a new sign made? I don't know. I'm just offering that as ideas because in an environment in which we find ourselves where money is scarce for every worthy need, we just have to look at, you know, any and all options. But I'm not saying no, I'm just throwing that out. I'm sure you've thought of all these things yourself. But anyway, so we have a couple of questions. Kristen, I saw your hand first.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Christine. Thank you so much for this presentation. I just had a few questions. Do you charge membership dues or are they free?
We ask for a $15 membership contribution per year. And that is actually made out to the Friends of the Council on Aging. And what that covers is postage. The Friends take care of the postage for our monthly newsletter, which we put out. So it's really to cover that. It's we do get more generous donations occasionally, but that's what we ask, and it is voluntary.
Okay. And I have to say, as a nurse who works in Boston, providing transportation is so huge. I mean, that's such a big factor for elderly patients. So I really applaud that you guys have increased your efforts in doing that, because as someone who sees those patients who struggle to get rides in, that's really amazing. And then the other, you know, have you reached out? I know when I was in high school, I worked at town hall. Like, have you considered, you know, minimum wage high school students working after school? It's, you know, quite rewarding, or Curry College nurses volunteering kind of as their partnership, like for clinical or something.
I've actually posted on the Curry job board and UMass the gerontology certificate program they offer there, and we're just not getting any takers. But growing the volunteer core is one of our goals, and that it takes a staff person to organize. You know, even if we have, right now we have between like 10 and 15 volunteers, I would say, and that's manageable, but some councils on aging have 100. But you need a staff person to organize that. When somebody says last minute, oh, I can't come in and run the lunch today, you're dealing with, you know, it's not as concrete as an employee. But yeah, that's one of my goals, is to expand our volunteer, because it's so prevalent in other towns, and we just have to expand it here. But yes, I'd be open to, you know, after school volunteers or employees. Any ideas are welcome.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Scott, you have the floor.
Christine. I'm just curious, what's the size of the constituency that you serve? Did you already say that? I'm just curious. Do you know off the top of your head?
As of last week, we have about 2,150 registered users, which is roughly half of the over 65 population in the town. That's who's registered with us. And we get about 70 new members a month. People are calling constantly, signing up. Well, I've tried to expand the reach of what we do on social media, and I've also started to put a bunch of our monthly newsletters down at the food center and different places around town to kind of say, hey, this is what we offer. And we're offering programming that appeals to younger seniors. We just started a class called Ballet Bar, which is a new exercise craze. And a lot of people in their early 60s sign up. So we got a whole other group of Milton residents that normally would say, I'd never step foot in a place called a senior center, you know, and now it's we want it to be the cool place to come.
Well, that's encouraging, because 70 sounds younger the closer I get to it. impressive. Henny, Scott, are you done?
No, I had one more question.
Oh,
What's
go ahead, please.
What's the percentage increase you're asking for on your budget this year?
Um, 36%. So it's quite large. It's really the full-time position, and the expenses are really the window blinds.
Okay.
How many people do you have in positions there now presently?
As of today, I have myself and my outreach coordinator who are full-time. I have one part-time outreach worker. And then on the van driver side, I have one full-time van driver and 5 part-time van drivers. So there's 2.5 people doing the work administratively for 2,000 members.
And do you know what the increase in constituents was this year for you guys? Or over the last couple of years, how much you've increased per year?
158%. It's in July of 20, we had 838 members. And now we have 2,150.
Wow, that's an incredible growth. Right.
Yeah, and it's really, I'm sorry?
No growth in staffing or anything like that?
No.
Or funding for that matter. Minimal funding growth.
No, we were level funded last year. It was
Yeah.
my first year really in the
Yeah.
role, so I didn't, I wanted to see how things played out, but we've really exploded.
Yep, looks like it. Okay, Scott, are you finished?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Okay, terrific. Oh, Henny, your hand was up next. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you so much for this presentation, Ms. Stanton. You guys are our heroes. We're all, as the Chair Asher said, the closer we get, the better it looks. With self-interest in funding. Thank you for your great work there. Member Johnson asked a couple of really great questions that I think, and as well as Kristen did as well. So my question was to get a better picture of your staffing and see how that looked. But I was wondering, just thinking about the presentation we just saw in terms of as you go forward, will you be putting together some sort of long-term plan? Scott was very much outlining the growth, the 158%, which was a great point, Scott, to bring out versus 30% growth. How do you keep pace at a time when, like you said, seniors are becoming younger and younger and growing? This is a key place for us. And so just thought that seeing those kind of long range curves as far as plans might help us in terms of being able to properly do the budget commitment and work stuff. And also my last question was about do you have any foundation or board, behind like the way the library has that? Do you have any grant making organization? Do you have that kind of body somewhere, trustees, friends of the Council of Aging?
Yes, so the fundraising arm is called the Friends of the Council on Aging. And so what they're charged to do is to come up with fundraising ideas. They manage the annual appeal. And so the funds that they raise, they in the past have funded one of the vehicles. One of the cars was paid for by the Friends about 5 years ago. They fund, we do a Friday, usually it's Friday, an entertainment, or like if it's a holiday party or a lunch and learn type of event, they will fund the luncheons for those. And they also pay for the monthly postage for the newsletter, which we're mailing out 1,400 newsletters every month now. And we also, we do have, they also fund, we put in Constant Contact. So we're able to do every Monday morning, we send out an e-newsletter. So I encourage you to sign up for that if you'd like to. Tells you what's going on every week. But yes, that they do provide some funding.
Henny, you Is that enough? Is that good? Terrific. Thank you. Dave, you have the floor. Dave Humphreys.
Can you hear me? Is my mic good?
Yes, just speak up a little louder and we'll all get it.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Stanton, for your brief tonight. I was on this subcommittee last year. I would expect that I'll probably be on it again this year. It wasn't part of your talk here, but I seem to recall that last year we talked a little bit about your vehicles. It's nice that you got a new vehicle 5 years ago, but I do recall that as of at least last year, your Council on Aging was relying on a decommissioned police car. Could you please describe for us, sort of the state of your fleet at this point? What kind of vehicles are you using? What's their capacity? What do you feel you might need in the future to better serve the community? Thank you.
Thank you very much for addressing this much needed area. So we have 5 vehicles and 1 on loan from the select board office. So I have a 14 passenger van that's about, these vehicles are at least 8 years old. 14 passenger van, an 8 passenger van, a 2010 Honda Accord, a 2010 15 Subaru Outback, and a Dodge minivan, which is handicapped, wheelchair accessible. So I have my request in through the Capital Committee for a second wheelchair accessible minivan, because that is the most appropriate to take people into downtown Boston, which is where we're getting most of our requests. And actually this Wednesday, we have 2 wheelchair trips on the same day. So the 8 passenger van is also wheelchair accessible. So it's not ideal to take that into downtown Boston, but we will. So my request through the Capital Committee is for a second minivan with a wheelchair ramp. It is, people call us desperate when a family member has gotten to the point where they're wheelchair bound, they can no longer transport them like you would. So and chair cars are exorbitant, and so we're really, I'm really happy to be able to offer that service, but adding that to the fleet would be ideal. It would hold 4 people without the wheelchair, so it's still very much usable for trips around town. But thank you very much for acknowledging that. It is much needed, and I hope that gets approved.
Scott, you have a question.
Yeah. How about salary increases this year? Are there any salary increases?
Just steps. No.
What salaries are level funded for yourself and the other individuals?
Yes.
Okay, so
okay. Oh, Karen.
Well, let's let Karen. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn. Maybe Karen.
All right. Scott, would you mind if I ask Karen to answer that question?
Go ahead.
Karen, can you give us info on that?
Sure, thank you, Chair. So all the budgets are level funded except for contractual step increases that are automatically, ones that we have to add. But excuse me, thank you. Honor.
Okay.
So in this case, there would be no increase for the salaries at Council on Aging. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
So I want to hold this up as an example, and I'm not saying everybody has to be driving around in 11-year-old vehicles in the town, but I hope all the departments of the town are listening to this, because this is how it works in the private sector too. This is a person, in my opinion, that is really doing yeoman's work and trying to hold a line on a budget. And that's how you keep taxes from going through the roof. And that's how you balance a checkbook. And every other department is asking for more and more money. And most of you are pretty good, but there are some that ask for a tremendous amount of money. And the bottom line is, I hold Christine up as an example of doing yeoman's work with 158% increase in services or people she's providing services to. And she's not giving herself a raise. She's not taking her 2.5%. She's doing her job, and she's not even asking for vehicles where it's clear she probably needs them. So I'm just saying it's just a great deal of providing excellent service. And I thank you for that. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Christine, we are grateful that you came. Are there any further questions for Christine Stanton of the Council on Aging? Thank you very much. I'm sure the subcommittee will be more than happy to talk to you and hear about everything else going on there and how we can do the best we can for you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all the members of the committee for all the work you do. I know how hard it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Our next item is the consolidated facilities. And Bill, are you with us still?
I am here. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for staking with us. We appreciate your time. Just introduce yourself to everyone, some of whom you may or may not know.
Yes, hi. So I'm Bill Ritchie, Consolidated Facilities Director. Been with the town for 22 years, 12 years on the school side, and 10 years now with Consolidated Facilities. I don't know if Karen has one slide. I'm not really asking for a lot tonight, so I didn't do a crazy PowerPoint. Basically what I'm asking for those that don't know Consolidated Facilities is that we have 11 people in-house on Consolidated Facilities. We have 26 custodians on the school side. We have 24 buildings and about 940,000 square feet. If you take any other town that does what we do, they double the staff and double the budget. Weston, Lexington, Andover, Lexington, all those towns. So our small department, we do a lot. Since 2012, we've done over 17,000 work orders. And everything that we pay on the outside is prevailing wage. So my heating ventilation tech, as I use an example, he has an $80,000 salary. If I bring somebody in from the outside, it's about $1.60 an hour, 4-hour minimum, and $100 travel. So the money we are saving this town is astronomical. That's, so that speaks for all the men and women that work for the department, as well as custodians. So that budget slide you see right there is what I'm asking for, salary and wages. We are going up a little bit. I am trying to get back $7,000 in overtime that was cut for the last year. We had it for the last 2 years, and another $7,000 for seasonal. Yesterday's snowstorm for 4 of my workers cost $3,000. If I had 4 snowstorms in a row, I'd be out of money in 3 weeks. So what I'm asking is I'm just trying to restore back to where we were before, because a lot of the work we have to do is after hours when students are out of the classrooms, people are out of the offices, and we're putting a lot of that work off because I don't have the budget to really do it. And then obviously expenses, I asked for just a little bit. I think it's like $5,400 just to restore back a bare minimum on contractual services. And what else do we have here? We have software support, custodial services, contractual support, and vehicle allowance. I'm only asking for $5,562. Bare bones at this point. That's pretty much all I'm asking for. That's, I know budget, it's a lean, budgets are tight. So I consider myself, we do a lot, we do a lot of work for a little bit of money, and just asking to restore back what I had last year that I had to cut out of the department to balance my budget. Welcome. Any questions or
Thank you very much, Bill. And again, you really do an incredible job, particularly given the breadth of the facilities and everything that has to happen. Questions from the membership? Okay, all righty. Oh, I'm sorry, Scott, you have the floor.
Hi, Bill. How many employees do you have in your department?
There's 11 of us in consolidated facilities. It's the top three is myself, the director, operations manager, and an office assistant. And Scott, just so you know that I'm a working director. So like Sunday, I'm out in the snowstorm. I did 3 service calls. So I don't sit in the office. I'm out in the field because we don't have a big staff. My operation manager is pretty much an acting foreman, and my Diane is my office assistant who runs around, does everything else.
Yeah, and so what you do is you guys maintain like the HVAC systems and all the equipment in the buildings of the town. Is that how it works? Or is it just
Yeah, the easiest way to explain consolidated facilities is that we're from the sidewalk in is all my responsibilities. The sidewalk out, it would be the DPW and the park department.
Okay, so I divided that 17,000 by 9 years by 365, and it comes out to about 5.17 service orders a day is what you come out to do. Just kind of curious looking at it.
Well,
Yeah, that
Yeah.
could be an average. Yeah, I mean, sometimes we do more, sometimes we do less, depending how complicated the service request is.
Or what breaks.
Exactly. Yeah. And what people have to realize too, the school buildings now are almost 20 years old.
Yeah.
COA is, so a lot of the buildings are old, the library, and I think in the next few years, I will, God forbid, I'm still here and everything, and we'll be asking for more staff because when we build all the fire departments, these buildings are going to be highly sophisticated. The staff that I have now, I'm probably not going to have the ability to maintain them if the school doesn't a brand new. If they add on a new school, or if in the animal shelter, the staff will grow. But for right now, I'm not asking for anything because there's nothing new. But down the line, as buildings get, as the responsibilities get bigger, the systems are more complex. We may have to add, more sophisticated personnel in the department.
Yeah, maybe it'll cut your overtime too. You never know.
Well, I appreciate, Bill, you're a player coach. Having been a research director for investment banks, money managers, and running a venture capital fund, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades to some extent. And the player coach model, I think, is a good one to have. And thank you for executing it because I know it's not always easy. Other questions? Bill, thank you very much. We'll look forward to having more input from you as we go through the subcommittee process.
Yes, and thank you all for your time and service.
No.
I appreciate it.
No, thank you for hanging on through the other presentations as well. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, have a good night.
All right, thank you all again for the questions and for carrying through all of these department presentations. Our next item on the agenda is to finalize the subcommittees and the categories that we have. I have asked on a couple of occasions for you to think about what you would like to do. And we have 2 people. I will take these, I guess, in this particular order that we have. The first is public schools. So far, we have Christine and I think Steve who are involved there. And Lorraine, you've asked to be on that as well. Is there anybody else who would like to be on that? Muhammad?
Yes, I'd like to be on a school subcommittee.
Okay, and Susanna?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
and Scott. So that's 6. I think that's a good size. I think that should be good because we still need, if you're gonna, I appreciate this, but you might have to do double duty because we do have to people the other committees as well. Okay, so we have just, I'm sorry, who is that, Len?
Christine, can you hear me?
Oh, Christine, yes, of course. I didn't see your hand, I apologize.
No, I didn't put it up, I'm sorry. But I think that if I can beg off of schools, we don't need 6 people, that would be, usually we have 3. So I can step away.
Are you sure you want to? Because you've been the steady hand there.
Mr. Chair, I was going to say that.
I'm fine with that.
I'm sorry?
It's okay. I don't mind.
Okay, it's up to
Mr.
you.
Chair?
Yes.
This is Ohene.
Yeah.
I just think continuity in terms of remembering what we did last year, the year as it was me, Christine, and someone. I think it's important to have at least one person. With Brian,
I don't disagree.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. So that's why I'm saying if there's at least, if one of you is interested, then we'll possibly have someone else go to another committee. I think six is a big number. 5 is even pushing it. I would prefer to see 4, but I'm not going to suggest, you're willing, if you're willing to do it, I'm not going to say no. It's just that we do need these other committees ended as well. So
I can go to another committee also.
Are you sure?
Whatever, wherever it's needed, I'm perfectly open to anything.
Okay, terrific. So, who do we still have? Christine, if you're determined to step off, that's okay.
Yeah, I'll step off.
Okay, so we have then Susanna, Scott, Steve, Lorraine. Lorraine, you can stay on. That's 4, right?
Georgia was Mohammed.
Oh, Mohammed, I'm sorry, that's 5. Okay, so Lorraine, if you want to do another committee, that would be fine. There's plenty of work to do.
Okay.
Is that all right with you?
Yes, oh, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we have those 4. All right, so thank you very much. Next, let me just look here. Oh, hang on, there we go. Public safety. That's the fire and the schools. I'm sorry, fire and schools on the head. Fire and police. We don't have anyone assigned to that. Who is interested in doing that? We should have at least 2 on that one.
George?
Kathy.
I did that in the past. I don't mind doing it again.
Okay. Kathy, who else would like to jump?
I'm happy to work with
Kathy.
Henny.
Perfect. That's great.
To learn from the best.
Yeah, well, the experience that you're both experienced at this point, and you're both ask excellent questions. So that's exactly right. DPW, we need at least 2 there, I would say. Who is interested in doing that and who has capacity? Because that one is a little complex as well. Dave, you'd like to do that? Okay. Do we have someone else interested to participate? John, perfect. Oh, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so John and Dave for DPW. Cemetery. Who's interested in the cemetery?
There's Christine. I will do cemetery. I've done that the last few years.
Okay, Christine.
And I don't need, somebody can join me if they want, but it's very small.
It's relatively straightforward. Kristen, you can probably handle that yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, terrific. Library. We just had this presentation. Who's interested? Susanna and Emily. Excellent. JJ, you want to do that one as well?
I don't care if I can do another committee if
it's totally up to you. There's enough to talk about on the library. So if you want to, that's perfectly fine.
It's up to your discretion.
It's fine. Let's do. The 3 of you can do that. That's perfectly fine. Let's skip general government for the moment. Parks and Rec.
George, it's Christine. I'll do Parks and Rec.
Okay, who wants to do
I
that?
did Parks and Rec with Christine last year. It's Erin. I'd be happy to do that with her this year.
No, we didn't. Did we? We did library last year.
With Kathy, I know.
But
I was just asking Kathy if she wanted to do the library, but we missed out. Other people were too quick.
Erin, so you want to do Parks and Rec?
Sorry, I'm quick.
All right.
It's okay.
So
It's really fun. I don't care. Yeah, if I could do Parks and Rec, that would be great.
Okay, so we have Christine and you on Parks and Rec. All right, that's great. All right, so then let's skip retirement insurance and boards and committees. Elder services. Who would like to do that one? Lorraine, you were. Would you like to do that one? Or Dave,
Yes.
would you like to?
No, yes, that's fine. I can do that
Okay,
one.
so Lorraine, Kristen, how about that one? For you,
Yeah,
Dave.
that'd be great.
Perfect. Dave, your hand was up. But you're doing a bunch already, are you not? Oh, you have 2 already, I think.
Well, I got DPW.
Yeah.
Is Elder Services Council on Aging?
Yes.
I did that last year. So the only ones that I volunteered for so far this year is DPW.
Would you do consolidated facilities? There's overlap there.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
We have someone else to do consolidated facilities also.
I'll do it, George.
Oh, Don, thank you. That's good. Okay, so the next one, we just have general government, and then insurance, retirement boards and committees. The boards and committees is very straightforward. I don't know that there's much to be done there. So I'm trying to remember if in the past we have done boards, committees, and I remember doing insurance and retirement with another member for a couple of years. And that's very straightforward, but general government, we should have, that would probably.
I did that last year, Mr. Chair. I did that with Doug Howgate last year.
Oh, that's right. Would you like to do that again? Are you interested, or do you want to do something else, Erin?
No, that was fine. I'll do the Parks and Rec and I'll do the government.
Perfect. That's great. Okay, so that just leaves boards and committees, insurance and retirement. Who would like to do, I would actually combine insurance and retirement and boards and committees and have just one couple do that, because those are relatively small and reasonably straightforward. Insurance less so than it used to be, because we had a big problem a few years ago with the health insurance increase, but I don't think that's the same issue that we have this year. So do we have a couple of people who would be interested in doing that? The insurance and retirement and the boards and committees.
I can do it, but I'm new this year, so I'd love to have someone help me out if you don't mind.
JJ, thank you. Do we have an experienced hand who would like to, who's not overwhelmed? I absolutely don't want you all to be taxed on this one, because I know that they can be time consuming, but if we have someone who has been around a little bit to help out with that one, this one is not all that time consuming. I'm pretty sure of that.
Mr. Chair, maybe you can help out, JJ, since you have the experience as well.
Well, it's a lovely idea, but I also have a couple of other things that I have to deal with, and I stopped being on subcommittees 2 years ago simply because I end up at the end of the day writing a couple of these opinions and writing the long letters. So I would defer to my committee.
I'm more than happy to serve, but I've not done this one before.
Henny, you can pick this up.
You are.
I'm sure you can pick this up very fast. And if you do have any issues that come up, there'll be loads of people to give you a hand between Mike Dennehy and Karen and myself. So Henny and JJ for this one. And I think that should do it for now. Lynn, did you get everybody on that one?
Rich, I believe so. I'll send an email out tomorrow.
Did we skip anything? I don't think we did. I think we went back and backfilled everything that we needed to.
I agree, George.
Okay, terrific. All righty. Listen, I think we're good for the moment. Our next meeting should be next Monday evening. We have, I'm not sure if we have the DPW. We have DPW confirmed for next Monday yet?
No, I'm working on who's coming next Monday still.
Okay, but we'll publish that in the agenda. But we still have to hear from the police and the police and Parks and Rec and DPW and a few others. So we will probably go through at least the next 2 weeks hearing presentations. And then we can, as soon as you need or want to start the subcommittees, I mean, schools have already presented to us. You can begin that anytime you want. And then we'll circle back at the end of February with presentations. And if there's any further need for additional input by the different departments, or if you feel you want to bring something to the larger group, then I think we'll have time for that. Erin, your hand is up. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a quick procedural question. Do we have to post the subcommittee meetings again this year as open meetings?
I believe so.
Okay. Lynn, I don't know that everybody knows how to do that, so I'm just wanting to make sure that everybody has that information.
Oh, good point. Thank you for bringing it up. Lynn, can we impose on you to help coordinate that a little bit initially?
Sure. I'll send an email of how to fill out the forms, et cetera, et cetera.
That'll help. And if there are any questions, Sue Galvin at at the clerk's office is always helpful and will be more than happy to give us a hand. I know it's in everybody's interest to get these things done. All righty. So thank you all for stepping up. Is there any new business that we need to bring up at this point? Any requests, any ideas, anything? Okay. Then if that's the case, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have to have the motion first, John. Thank you, though.
I'll move.
So, Scott, do you have something before we adjourn? Or are you motioning?
Yeah,
Are you...
I'm gonna move to adjourn, but only after we make sure everybody feels like they've had an opportunity to speak and nobody wants to say anything else.
Is everybody happy? I'll ask you that. I feel
complaints last week.
Huh?
And by the way, I want to say that I think that I have never seen you not let somebody speak at one of these meetings. I'm just on the record.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know that that was ever a criticism. I think the criticism was rather more about how, not that it didn't occur. And I think I'm hoping we can put that to rest at this point, that we don't have to revisit it and that everybody is comfortable with where we are right now. And I'm hoping that is the case. If we're not, then we have to have a further discussion. That's another agenda item. But I think we have plenty to do that we can all pull together as we always have and get along as we always have. And, business as usual is our objective. Emily, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say again, I did appreciate the procedural things we went over in the beginning of the meeting. I'm not sure if it might have been sent out, but if not, I would find it helpful to have the slides because they were great to review, and it would be nice to be able to have them as a reference point.
We absolutely can send out. There's absolutely, and actually, the reason I did it that way is so they would be entered into the minutes. So we will have that, and if anybody wants them, Lynn. In fact, Lynn, I'm going to ask you now if you would just shoot those out to everyone in an email as well when you send out the agenda, because I honestly think that's how we behave anyway. I really do. I just want to be sure that everybody's comfortable that this is the MO. Okay, but thank you. That's a good suggestion. Kathy, I'm sorry, Emily, are you done?
Oh, I was just going to add as well.
Go ahead.
I wanted to say thank you to Erin because I do think it's we have a lot of difficult conversations, and I think that what we went through at the beginning was really important, and I appreciate that she helped to prompt that discussion.
Okay, Kathy, you have the floor.
Sure, thank you. I got a copy of the library presentation. I was hoping that maybe Lynn could send out the Chief Madden's presentation. So we saw it earlier, but I don't think we got that.
The which presentation that you were mumbled for me? Garbled.
Chief Madden's presentation.
Oh, the fire station.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fire department. Lynn,
Lynn
do we
could
have
send
that?
that out, that'd be
Karen has
helpful.
that. Karen, I don't know if Karen is still on, but if she is and can send it to you, that would be helpful. If not, maybe she can just send it and then we can forward it further.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Lynn, you have your hand up.
Yes, George, I just want to say that Karen just sent me those presentations so I can forward it to the group.
Oh, perfect. That's great. Okay. All righty. Anything else from anyone? Anybody needs any help or any discussion points raised? Please don't hesitate. And I'm assuming everybody's dug out and not freezing. Yeah, this one was an effort, but again, the DTW and again, John, thank you for all the work you did. I know your crews were out, and I hope we don't get buried too quickly or the temperature doesn't drop too fast. So that having been said, we still have a motion on the table. Oh, Scott, you have your hand up. I'm sorry.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I won't entertain any discussion on this one. All in favor? Lynn, please take the roll.
Steve.
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Erin,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
JJ,
Yes.
Susanna,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
and Muhammad.
Yes.
Ohene also votes
Excellent.
yes.
Meeting adjourned. Same time next week. Thank you all very much. Hope you have a good week.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night.